The Battle of Mohács, the decisive war that crushed the pride of European military power. When I first read about this event, I thought it might be a story. But when I verified it through Western sources and the internet, I was amazed. This event is famous in Europe because it resulted in the death of the King of Hungary. Thousands of nobles and countless soldiers, their graves are still there today, and people visit them. This was a real battle that should have been taught in our schools, and it should be commemorated every year. This very battle reveals why the Ottoman Empire has been unfairly portrayed in history. It also shows how history has been distorted to label it as the legacy of the sick man of Europe. This was no ordinary war. It was a catastrophe of immense proportions. This was the Battle of Mohács, a war that Europe has not forgotten to this day. Why was the war fought? Ottoman Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent sent his ambassador to the King of Hungary to collect tribute. Gizzi. At that time, Hungary was a strong fortress of European Christian powers. At the behest of the Pope, the King of Hungary had the Sultan's ambassador killed. Thus, the Church in Europe prepared for war. Military preparations. Ottoman army, 100,000 mujahideen, 350 cannons, 800 ships. European alliance, almost all of Europe, 21 countries united. Their army consisted of 200,000 cavalry, 35,000 of whom were clad in full iron armor. The campaign. Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, a descendant of the conqueror of Constantinople, traveled nearly 1,000 kilometers, capturing several fortresses along the way. He conquered the strong fortress of Belgrade, crossed rivers, and finally arrived at the field of Mohács in Hungary, where the European army, led by the Pope and the King of Hungary, awaited him. The Sultan's challenge. The Sultan's biggest challenge was Europe's armored cavalry clad in iron, who were unaffected by arrows or bullets and were difficult to fight head-on. Preparations for battle. The Sultan performed a Fajr prayer and addressed his army. The Islamic army wept, for this was the decisive battle. Military strategy. The Sultan arranged his army across a 10-kilometer area in 3 lines. First line, elite troops, janissaries. Second line, light cavalry, volunteers, and infantry. Third line, the Sultan himself and the cannons. The battle begins. After the Asr prayer, the Hungarian army attacked. The Sultan ordered the janissaries to hold their ground for an hour and then retreat. The second line was ordered to withdraw to the flanks. The scene of battle. The janissaries fought bravely and destroyed the European infantry in 2 assaults. In just one assault, 20,000 Europeans were killed. Then, Europe's powerful armored cavalry advanced. At the same time, the Ottoman army withdrew from the center, leaving the middle of the field empty. The destruction of the European army. 100,000 European cavalry charged forcefully into that empty space. Suddenly, they found themselves facing Ottoman cannons. Cannons fired from all sides, and within just an hour, the European army was destroyed. The rear troops fled toward the river, trampling each other into chaos, and thousands drowned in the river. The armor of the cavalry became so hot that it melted onto their bodies. The Sultan's stern decision. The European army tried to surrender, but Sultan Suleiman decreed, "No prisoners will be taken." The Ottoman army declared, "Fight or die." Thus, the European army fought its final battle. Outcomes of the war. The King of Hungary, 7 high-ranking priests, the Pope's representative, and 70,000 cavalry were killed. 25,000 wounded were taken prisoner. The Ottoman army held a military parade in Hungary's capital where everyone kissed the Sultan's hand. Among the Muslims, only 1,500 were martyred and 3,000 wounded. Congratulations poured in for the Sultan from Mecca, Medina, Jerusalem, and Egypt. Final words. On that day, the pride of European military power was crushed into the dust. Hungary has not forgotten this defeat to this day. This is a remarkable battle in history, with outcomes that unfolded rapidly. European historians remain astonished, angry, and biased about it to this day. Spread this event so that Muslims can recognize their honor and victories, and so that we can recognize great mujahideen like Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, who has been deliberately misrepresented in dramas like Haram al-Sultan. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe, like, share, and comment below with logo image. Your thoughts encourage the creation of more stories like this. Thank you for listening. Until next time.